this program is brought to you on live stream. What does that mean? That means you go to YouTube, and you put WILK, Bob Cordaro, and you'll find the program. Now today, let's see, what do we have on today? I've got my, I don't know, I've got to find out I have my all-time great, black with this beautiful tattered flag. I've got that on today, and all that's brought to you by our friends at Roach Supply, the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. Visit RoachSupply.com today. ROCHE. 3 generations. I mean, these family businesses just, they impress me. They awe me. They create a sense of awe. They truly do. And they just do it well. In any event, I haven't mentioned that my mulberry. I'm almost out of my mulberry bush honey. They're up at Hopkins Farm now in Falls, so it's harder for me. It's much harder for me to stop by because you're doing your normal things, and I'll go exercise for an hour or so after the program, and then I got to get home to Chauncey, the dog. And, I got to get him Chauncey. Well, and he's not as much, he's a very little risk of doing, his business in the house. He's just really, really good about that. But, I mean, I feel sorry for him. In any event, I haven't been able to get up to Hopkins Farm. But, and I'd hate to, you go back to store-bought honey, it's very hard to do. It's just like, what? Hey, Navy guy says, Bob, found myself at Hot Dog Johnny's yesterday. Souvenir T-shirt says Buttsville. All right. There's a difference on that among our great audience. Some say, somebody said it's Bellsville or something yesterday. I'm trying to remember. Somebody says Bob LTS. Back at you. I was online chatting with attorneys across America. I guess that's a group. The best way to shut the discrimination ordinance in Luzerne County is to contact the county's insurance carrier and underwriting agencies and explain them the massive liability they would be burdened with if the ordinance is enacted. That's very clearly true. Yeah. And then, disgraceful. But remember what happened. I don't want any of you to be let off the hook. Yeah, somebody said Belvedere, but Navy guy says it says Buttsville on the shirt. Although, you know what? If I was doing a shirt for Hot Dog Johnny's, I wouldn't put Belvedere. I would put Buttsville. Just for the fun of it. Somebody says, Bob, did you happen to catch Paige Cognetti's commercial? I'm aware of what it is. And it's the Old Boy Network when she's the one who took $15,000 in campaign contributions, turned around and spent $2 million of our taxpayers' money for a building we don't need that's going to cost us a fortune every year. They've already, I got sent to this by someone who knows. They've already underestimated the utilities by a half just to shove this down. I don't think council took any action to reverse the sale. They still have time, but boy, oh boy, you guys, you better do your job. Your job is to work for the taxpayers of the city of Scranton, not to engage in Paige Cognetti's endless campaign to move higher in the left-wing lunatic hierarchy. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to even. I don't want to talk about her, but whatever. Went to Blackwatch up at Naog. God, I love that place. It is so gorgeous, so cool. But I went to Blackwatch at Naog to get a couple of coffee drinks. And, yeah, Pat Hinton wasn't there, but he's got great people. It is just, it's cool. It's really neat, the stuff they came up with. Bye-bye Dunkin' Donuts. I mean, there's no drive-through. Okay, fine. Well, you know what? I'm going to be mildly inconvenienced. Number one, to go with a local brand like Black Watch. And I've got to find out what the name came from. I wonder if it came from Game of Thrones. Anyway, great stop. And then stopped at the Scranton Club, had a little cigar. And then Brother Ron, I told you, it was his birthday yesterday, so we went with his Joy and Cutie over to Fart Street Tavern. And it was great. Saw one of our great sales guys and his gang, Steve Zayak. This was something. He said, I was playing softball over here in Westside. And I said, I didn't even know anybody played softball anymore. So I was actually happy to hear that. But, yeah, everything was great. I had the clams. Oh, you know. And what a great crowd for a Tuesday night. Not like where you're suffocating and not getting service or anything, but the good crowd. You know, like you want a little bit of liveliness. Watched a part of the baseball all-star game. I've never cared less for a baseball all-star game. I used to, as a kid, I couldn't wait for the baseball all-star game. But they have, the FAR has these great television sets. You know, the big, can't call them television sets anymore. I'm obviously dating myself. But these huge screen TVs. And it was a pleasure watching the game while enjoying Ron's birthday and all that. It was good. It was a good afternoon, good evening. But I can't, I'm fine now, but just getting up in the morning when I go out. I'm not talking about drinking and all that. No, I'm just saying going out, because we kept running into people, Cutie and I, that we were talking to, and had a lot of fun with them. But then you get home at, 11 o'clock. Then I got to take Chauncey for the walk. And I want to be in that crib for 10 hours. I don't know about you guys. I want to be in the crib for 10 hours. That doesn't mean I sleep for 10 hours. I'm watching Homeland, so I put that on. And when I don't get the 10 hours, at least while I'm getting up, it's a bit of a burden, Slick says, Bob LTS, I did happen to see Pothole Page new commercial and literally threw up in my mouth. It's just awful. The lies and the phoniness and the fake happiness. She's vicious. I know what she's done to people. Like, she's got her political rivalries. Marty Flynn, she fired his mother. This is not Miss Nicey Nice. And by the way, if you're a tough chick, fine. Be what you are, but it's all phony in pursuit of her own ambition. She cares about as much regarding the city. She cares less than Chauncey about the city of Scranton. And Chauncey doesn't have a clue where he lives. Well, he does by sniff and smell. But other than that, he doesn't know. You ask Chauncey, where do you live, Chauncey? He's not going to answer you. And he cares more than her about the city of Scranton. The city of Scranton to her is a stepping stone. And she proves it every day with how poorly she manages it. And then that's where your incompetence comes. Because all she cares about is checking boxes when she appoints people. And she doesn't have any clue. She's never been in a real business. She doesn't know how to get anything done. Oh, Lord. Anyway, it is National Hot Dog Day. Bulldog brought that up to me. He wanted me to take him for a hot dog. I guess I whetted his appetite talking about Hot Dog Johnny's. Well, the new Coney Island, it's just the Coney Island lunch on Lackawanna. It's not open yet, Bulldog. And no, if it was lousy weather, I would take you. But I've got to get my exercise. But yeah, it's like, here's the Bulldog. Here's this nonsense I put up with this guy. he brings up. He's sending me a text about an accident from our traffic gang, that I might have to try to avoid to get here on time. And in it, he says, it's National Hot Dog Day. Well, I know what you mean. No, and you're not going for hot dogs. Tough spit. All right, we have to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Where does Murph find this stuff? Well, we don't know. It's Murph. It's a Murph thing. But July 15th, 1959, Johnny and the Hurricanes released their great instrumental Red River Rock. It was a rock and roll version of River Valley, which I also never heard of. I've never heard this deal. Oh, he goes deep, our guy Murph. No doubt about it. So, some people are saying, and one of the listeners texting in says the Rob Bresnahan race is going to be one of the most expensive in the country. And, we're not a really expensive media market. So that tells you all the dark money and left-wing lunatic money and America hatred money is going to go to Paige. And they're going to pretend she's normal. Obviously try to make Rob into, the devil. It's actually disgusting. And again, I say to you left-wingers, and I know you're listening, you should be livid, just like your, Democrats, socialists of America. You should be disgusted that Paige Cognetti is ashamed of her own views, her left-wing lunatic views. I'd be peed. I know that. Hey, quickly before we go to our break, the petitioners are out there and trying to get some signatures, continuing to gathering signatures against this silly, and I believe illegal ordinance, which is going to make the Luzerne County Council your parent. Where are you today?
Good morning, Bob. How you doing?
Good. It's Joe, right?
Yes, it's Joe. Joe from Plains. Joe Grantine. You could also add anti-American ordinance along with illegal and all the other adjectives. But I'm up here today at Trailwood Park on Bear Creek Road in Bear Creek Township. The people have come out and they've started signing early this morning, and hopefully, if they're listening in this area, they'll come down and sign our petition to let democracy work instead of a 7 people's agenda.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we're doing this every day, but it has to be done. And the support of the people is what keeps us going. It's been really inspiring that all the people out here, they understand what they're up against, and they're motivated to come out and sign our petitions everywhere. There's over 100 of us with petitions in the county. If you throw a rock, you're going to possibly hit somebody with a petition. So, there's no excuse not to find a petition and support democracy.
Well, I think it's a big deal what you guys are doing. We will keep talking about it here because it is just about the most audacious power grab to control other people's lives, their speech, their thoughts that I have ever seen on a local level. It's unreal.
Yeah, we just can't let them have that kind of power. I mean, that's not what they were elected to do. What they were elected to do, was keep track of the money, make sure it went to the right places, fix our roads. It wasn't to push a left-wing agenda that somebody in California spent money to have them.
Well, Joe, you have to remember this. It's like Paige Cognetti. It's like all of them. Your Luzerne County Council, the majority, and we read the names out yesterday. They're more interested in their agenda than the people of Luzerne County or the government of Luzerne County. They could care less.
Absolutely. It took them 30 seconds to turn their backs on Luzerne County voters. Yep. 30 seconds.
Well, Joe, where are you again today?
Bear Creek Road, Trailwood Park. It's a beautiful park up here in Bear Creek. It's a beautiful day. Just come out and sign the petition. It's a good thing. It's going to help help a lot of people. It's going to help little girls stay safe in bathrooms everywhere, and you can't justify the sickness on the other side.
Amazing. Well, Joe, thank you very much. Appreciate you doing it. Appreciate you checking in. All right, my man.
And thank you. You have a good day.
Okay, man. Hey, 9:33 on my Bacardo Jewelers watch. Actually, 9:34 right now. Let's take our break, hear from our great sponsors. We will come back. We've got our Veterans Tribute. We've got the weather. And then we've got you, if you choose to, at 570-883-0098. Our Veterans Tribute today and every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Well, I was off on Monday, so Tuesdays, we normally talk about Serenity Care. And I said, well, we'll do that today, since I had the pleasure of being at the Far Street Tavern last night and could talk about it separately. Serenity Care, their mantra is live better. And you can at Serenity Care Senior Living Facilities, Mid-Valley, section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge, southern tip of Lackawanna, Wyoming, and Kingston. Dementia care units at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All four of these facilities have been completely renovated inside and out, and they're accepting new residents. And they tell you, Serenity Care, live better. Charles Charlie Kitely, late of Fairfax Station, Virginia. He was 78 years old. We lost him April 14th last year. Born in Wilkes-Barre, raised in nearby Bear Creek. He graduated from King's College with a bachelor's degree in economics, laying the foundation for a lifetime of dedicated public service. Following graduation, Charlie answered the call to duty, enlisting in the U.S. Army in 1968. You know what was going on then. He deployed to the Vietnam War and was honorably discharged as a staff sergeant in 1971. He wasn't done yet, though. He was also honorably discharged from the U.S. Marine Corps, where he served. And he was also a member of the U.S. Army Reserve and the U.S. Navy Reserve. Incredible. In 1973, Charlie married the love of his life, Patricia Kitely, and the couple relocated to the Washington, D.C. area. Charlie began a distinguished career in the Federal Civil Service with the Department of Defense. He worked on the development of the U.S. Navy submarine-launched Trident ballistic missile system. He worked tirelessly and earned a master's degree at night from George Washington University. His career continued at the Defense Intelligence Agency, during which time he earned a second master's degree from the Industrial College of the Armed Forces. He capped his career of national service at the CIA. On the morning of September 11th, 2001, Charlie was en route to the Pentagon for a meeting and tragically lost several close colleagues in that terrorist attack. Following retirement from federal service, he worked as a program manager at the Skytor Corporation. Charlie Kitely was a devout Catholic, a humble follower of Jesus. He possessed an uncanny ability to start a conversation with anyone who crossed his path. An avid outdoorsman, he loved hunting with his sons Mark and Brian. Coming back to Northeast PA to spend time at Lake Harmony and Lake Winola. Loved sports cars, believing they should only come with manual transmissions. Above all, Charlie loved his family unconditionally and taught his sons many lessons by example, never seeking or expecting recognition. He was the beloved husband of nearly 52 years to his wife, Patricia, devoted father to sons Brian and Mark, their wives, both of Fairfax Station, Virginia, and the cherished grandpa to Luke, Rory, Mava, James, and Ellen. Charles Kitely, our great veteran this hour, brought to you by Serenity Care, personal care community, who tells you live better. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resort. Did I tell you this is the perfect water park deal? Take your nieces, your nephews, take your grandkids, take your kids. It's awesome up there, and it's perfect weather. Today, mostly sunny, very hot. A thunderstorm possible late in the afternoon. Smoke from distant wildfires in Canada will lead to poor air quality. Those idiots are still not managing their forest properly. Unbelievable. Now, they're calling for 99. I heard Snedeker on the morning news say 93. We'll see. Tonight, humid, a thunderstorm around early, low of 66. Tomorrow, hazy, not as hot, lower humidity. Smoke from the wildfire still present. High 89, low 62. Friday, partly sunny and very warm. Caution advised. Well, see, I don't do these things. No. High 88, low 65. Yeah, use your head. That's what I'll tell you. Come on. We're Americans. We don't need to have our hands held. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. They can bring flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts. 83 Saturday, low 69. Sunday, a shower in the area in the morning, otherwise humid with more clouds than sun. High 85, low 60. And that's your weather, brought to you by the gang at Montage Mountain and their water park, where it's just, you just should be there, okay? It's 82 degrees at Montage already. By the way, I sent it to Bulldog yesterday, that clip. That is a Soros DA who is telling you that a man pleasuring himself publicly in front of kids is not illegal. Do you see who we are dealing with here? It's unbelievable. These people are nuts. And let's go back to Paige Cognetti. She's gotten the max from the Soros family members. Max contributions. And they're giving through their various dark money groups, and they're running their own commercials for her. What does that tell you? She's a left-wing lunatic. She's scary. She will follow along with everything insane that they want to do. Just remember that. My man Nikki D texted in a meme. It says, when the Berlin Wall came down, nobody ran to the communist side. Isn't that? I mean, how can you talk to people who are trying to tell you that up is down and down is up, and that government involvement in your life and in the economy is a good thing, when they've been proven wrong over and over and over again? There is not one good example, not one positive example of government running a country or people's lives better than the people themselves could do it. And look, here's what they do. This is the scam. They compare the human condition and human nature to a nirvana that will never exist. And they say the government can bring us to this utopia, this nirvana. And they're lying, and they know it, because it can't. In fact, it makes everything worse. You're just poorer and miserable. That's the history of communism. It's the history of socialism, Marxism, whatever name they want to put on it. And they're driving us toward it, and these soft-headed young people, and what, suburban wives? Is this what's going on, really? Who is falling for this crap? And the Islamists who want to take over the country because they know they can roll over these weaklings on the left are all in, and there's your coalition. By the way, I got sent this thing, and I don't want to laugh about it, but it merits mention. I got sent by a number of people, actually. And this trans person, I don't know, man to women, women to man, whatever. And by the way, fine. But see, she's listening to the lies and the bullspit and thinks, I've got to get out of America. They're killing all the trans people. Trump's killing all the trans people. She flees to, or he, I'm not trying to miss the pronouns or whatever. They flee to the Netherlands. And now she's afraid of violence from Muslim migrants. This is the insanity we're up against. This is why I'm begging you. Start preparing to vote for Bresnahan now. We know what the other side's going to bring us. And the problem is, even with the election of Mamdani, the turnout was so low, there's no mandate for this. It's laziness, and people saying, oh, they're all the same. That old trope and lie. Scary stuff, guys. We got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to return. We got the Bloomberg Money Minute in the middle there. It is only 9:49 on my Bicardo's watch, but that's okay. We got to hear from our sponsors. Murph tells us this date, 1967. Procol Harum moved into the top 10 charts at number 10 with Whiter Shade of Pale. That song right there. Bob Cordaro back with you. Just a mention, and I couldn't figure out how to get down there and maybe even do the show there. When the president shows up to an event, and I'm getting old. And I love Trump. Don't get me wrong on this. But the security measures and the pain in the neck that it is to wade your way through when you're nobody like me, it's just not worth it. So they asked me repeatedly, would you please come down, maybe do a show? I said, no, I'm not interested. I'm very interested in what you're doing. But Dave McCormick, remember he did that amazing energy and tech event out in Pittsburgh? He's got another one going on yesterday and today. It's the Pennsylvania, what's it called specifically? Oh, it's the Pennsylvania Defense and Innovation Summit. I mean, bringing these people home. He's got Trump coming. He's got Joint Chiefs Chairman Dan Kane coming. J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon. Pete Hegseth's coming, Secretary of War. Secretary of the Army Dan Driscoll. Secretary of the Air Force Troy Mink. Director of Central Intelligence John Ratcliffe. Our U.S. Representative to UN Mike Waltz. Kelly Loeffler from Small Business. It's unbelievable. We have really, truly elected a superstar, our United States Senator. And he's bringing these people together in his home state, and it's going to have amazing benefits. So thank you, Dave McCormick, for this, another incredible event at the Army War College, which I mention because Rick Bigelow has spoken there often. He's lectured there. We'll have him on after the news. But look, we got about a minute left. Judy Zabel from the Eagle Forum. Judy, in that minute, tell us what you got.
I don't know if I can do it in a minute. We are having our next meeting July 25th in Oliphant, same place, same station, at the different time, 10 a.m.
Where?
I will be talking about...
Where? Don't assume people know.
I'm sorry, 120 Willow Avenue, Oliphant.
At the church. What's it called?
Rescue and Restore Church.
Yeah,
yes.
Give us that. Yeah. Rescue and Restore Church. Great.
Yes.
Faith-based.
And we go in the side door. We meet in the basement. So I will be discussing, or we will be discussing, the effect of these books on children. I just noticed in the governor's in the budget recently they have allowed more money for mental health services in the schools. I'm wondering why. When you look at these books, you wonder. Good night. No wonder the kids.
And you know what, Judy Zabel? The thing that's disgraceful about it, they would not, and it's happened over and over again. They say, "Oh, it's censorship," and they would not allow people who opposed having these books in school libraries. They wouldn't allow them to read the books out loud at a meeting. They're that obscene. It's insane.
I know.
And you can buy pornography all you want. That's your thing. Whatever. Free country. This is with taxpayer money.
Exactly. I have Rosemary Brown on my side. She is following the money for me because I'm getting the runaround. So Rosemary is going to have her staff do some research. I'm finding George Soros is a big, big donor to the American Library Association.
Yep, and that's why they're perverted.
Very liberal group.
That's why they're perverted. Yep. That's why Paige Cognetti's perverted. Anywhere Soros money touches goes south.
And the ALA, the American Library Association, also is funded by Planned Parenthood, by the Rainbow Coalition, by Black Lives Matter. millions of dollars goes to that organization from these liberal groups.
Yep. Well,
And,
liberal,
and
they're lunatics. Judy, we
yes,
got to
and,
go. It's time. It's well past time for the news. You just got to keep in
okay,
touch with us. July
all right,
25th, 10 a.m.
at 10 a.m. Right.
All right, at the church. All right,
Thank
we'll
you.
keep mentioning it, but we got to do it
All right.
short form now. All right. Thank
Okay.
you, Judy.
Bye.
Always a pleasure. 10:02 on my Picardo Jewelers watch. That means we're past time for the news, but that's an important message. Let's do it, and then we'll come back with Rick Bigelow on the American Revolution. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. 10:10 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Wednesday, July 15, the year of our Lord 2026 here in the great Northeast and a few other places as well. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year and last, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like Charlie Kitely, late of Virginia, but he was from Wilkes-Barre and Bear Creek. Jack Pallo, South Abington, but he was from Dunmore. And Joseph Gardner, late of Michigan, but he was from Hughstown. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment. Today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all who hearken here. Well, we've been going back to history, not just because, and it almost sounds trite, but it is painfully true. What is past is prologue. But we also need to know, since civics has been completely lost in our education systems and in our daily lives, we need to know, well, how did we get here? Especially on the 250th anniversary of this amazing country. Well, Rick Bigelow is going to help us on that front, and he is with us now regarding the American Revolutionary War, Part 2. Rick, welcome back to the program.
Glad to be with you, Bob.
And thank you for taking time out of your busy practice of patent law to come with us and help all of us to become better educated on how this country came to be.
Glad to do it, Bob.
By the way, quickly mentioning Roach Supply, premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania, 75 years in business. Roach Supply, R-O-C-H-E, roachsupply.com today. If you go to our YouTube and the live stream under WILK Bob Cordaro Show, you'll see the Roach Supply deal. And it includes maps that our guy Rick is going to talk about right now. So proceed, Mr. Bigelow.
Okay. Last time we talked about how a series of taxes and restrictions on freedom that were passed by the British Parliament started to really irritate a lot of the people in the colonies, and all of a sudden British troops started showing up, and of course a lot of this was because the British government was in dire financial straits after the French and Indian War and the 7 Years' War in Europe. And they needed to raise revenues. So the best way to raise revenues is tax somebody who can't vote you out of office, which was basically what they did to the colonists, along with people in Ireland. They couldn't vote them out of office either, so they raised taxes on the Irish. So things were deteriorating, led to the Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, so on and so forth. Several members of the various colonial legislatures got together, committees of correspondence, and they decided to have a Continental Congress in Philadelphia. And the first Continental Congress happened in August of 1774. They met for 6 weeks in Philadelphia, basically to try to repair deteriorating relationships between the colonies and the Crown. They passed the Continental Association, which was a unified trade embargo against Britain. They also ordered local militias to arm. In the Boston area alone, there were some 20,000 militia members, including the Minutemen, who were younger members who agreed to drop everything and assemble on a moment's notice to protect themselves against not only the British, but Native Americans, too. And I think it's important to understand how many militiamen there were in the colonies. And of course, each of the legislators had required that men form the militia, and each one of them had to have a rifle or a gun of some sort, and they had to have ammunition. It's hard to estimate how many there were, but out of a population of 2.5 million in the colonies at that point in time, there were probably 100,000 members of the militia. So that's a huge number when you consider that the British never really had any more than 30 or 40,000 soldiers in the colonies at any one time. So that they agreed to have a second.
Rick Bigelow, a lot of these militias assisted the British and fought with the British in the French and Indian War, correct?
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And, one of the things that the colonists said was, you're taxing us to pay for the French and Indian War, but we helped you.
Yeah.
And we helped basically double the size of your empire in North America. Why are you taxing us? And so there was just a lot of discontent on the part of the colonists, and many of the wealthy planters who had plantations were actually losing money because of the acts that the British had passed. So there was considerable dissension. The other thing that's amazing is how many of these early battles occurred before the Declaration of Independence was signed and proclaimed. The first one was the battles of Lexington and Concord, which happened on April 19th, 1775. So there were British troops garrisoned in Boston, and these troops and their leaders became aware of a large cache of gunpowder and ammunition and probably some rebel leaders that were housed in Concord, Massachusetts. Now, Concord's maybe 15 miles west of Boston. So a detachment of 800 British troops was sent to capture this cache of weapons and ammunition.
And by the way, you don't get on the Mass Pike back then.
That's right. That's right. It was dirt roads, and it took a while to get there. So the British were sent 800 troops to capture this cache and any rebel leaders they could. The word went out to the colonists that the British were coming, and this is where you get the 1F by land, 2F by sea. So Paul Revere and dozens of others made the midnight ride, to warn citizens of Lexington and Concord that the British were coming. And of course, this is where the famous signal from the Old North Church in downtown Boston, 1F by land, 2F by sea. And basically, if you look at the map of Boston at the time, Boston is almost like an island with just a narrow spit of land that connects it to Brookline and Roxbury and so on and so forth. And so they had to go across a significant body of water to get to Cambridge to disembark and then march off to Lexington and Concord. Today, a lot of that is landfill. And first time I went to Boston, they said, this is Back Bay. And I didn't see any bay there. And basically it was landfill that was created in the 1850s. And then mainly the Charles River is there now. But it was a significant body of water that the British took. They embarked in boats and landed in Cambridge and marched off to Lexington and Concord. So the Battle of Lexington, the British arrived there. The militia had already been at the Lexington Green beginning at 1 a.m. The British arrived at about 4:30. The two sides approached each other. Somebody fired a shot. Nobody knows who. Both sides opened fire, and for all intents and purposes, the rebellion, which would eventually become a revolution, had begun. In a couple minutes, 8 militiamen were dead and 2 were wounded. So a smaller British force of about 250 continues to march on Concord. All along the way, British soldiers broke into homes looking for weapons and ammunition and so on and so forth, and basically plundering whatever they could. So the word spread quickly, and by the time
and as you
British,
mentioned, the British weren't doing themselves any favor. They looked down on these colonists like they were less than dirt.
yeah, that's right. It's like, what's wrong with you people? Don't you want to be part of the greatest empire in the world? And for a lot of the colonists, it was like, no,
Yeah.
we really don't want to be part of you anymore. So by the time they got to Concord, hundreds of militiamen from the region had gathered at Concord. Fierce fighting broke out in the vicinity of the Old North Bridge in Concord. Two militiamen from Acton, Massachusetts, were killed, and that just really enraged the Minutemen.
Rick, your phone is skipping out, and we have to take a break anyway. So if you could hold for us, we'll come back on that thought. Rick Bigelow, the beginning of the war for independence before the Declaration. Rick Bigelow is our guest. That is our subject. We'll be back on the Bob Cordaro Show after this. She had her heart broken. Looking Glass moved from number 12 to number 5, Murph tells us, with their hit Brandy. This date, 1972. Rick Bigelow is our guest. We're talking about the opening salvos of the Revolutionary War before the Declaration of Independence. Rick, let us continue, my man. We got our little connection straightened out.
Yep, sounds good now. So when the Minutemen opened up on the British at the Old North Bridge in Concord, that was basically accepted as the shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
So the British realized they were badly outnumbered, and they were forced to retreat 16 miles to Boston.
Wow. Think of how monumental that is. First of all, for these militiamen to have the guts to fire on their colonizers and the most powerful military in the world, almost unopposed in that respect. Wow.
Exactly. And it took a lot of guts to do it, but they had resolve, without a doubt. So the American militia basically fired on the British all the way along the line of retreat. The British lost 73 dead, 174 wounded, 26 missing. The Americans lost 49 killed, 40 wounded, and 5 missing in action. So that was the first major battle of the Revolutionary War. In the succeeding days, once the British got back to Boston, militia from the surrounding colonies came to the aid of Massachusetts and surrounded Boston. So British General Gage and his troops are basically trapped in Boston at this point in time.
My God.
So Gage was in the process of being dismissed by the Crown, and he was being replaced with 3 generals who played major roles down the road: Henry Clinton, John Burgoyne, and William Howe. So on May 10th of 1775, Fort Ticonderoga, and once again, before the Declaration was signed, Fort Ticonderoga was taken by the American forces led by Ethan Allen and the Green Mountain Boys and General Benedict Arnold. One of the things that's amazing is the more you read about the Revolution, in the first couple of years, all you hear about is Benedict Arnold was successful here. Benedict Arnold led troops there.
Yeah.
And it's just a shame what happened to him. So they had cannons and a huge stock of guns and gunpowder at Fort Ticonderoga, which was captured. Fort Ticonderoga, it's at the southern end of Lake Champlain, built by the French during the war, and the British captured it and garrisoned it with about 50 troops. And they were completely surprised by Ethan Allen and Benedict Arnold. So the Second Continental Congress convenes in 1775. Now, this Congress basically stayed in session all through the Revolutionary War and eventually became essentially the Congress for the revolutionaries. So they sent the olive branch petition to King George, still trying to negotiate a peace with the British. It was drafted and sent in July of 1775, drafted by John Dickinson, who really wanted to stay part of the British Empire. It asked for the Crown's help in negotiating the situation and said, despite all this, we're still loyal subjects of the Crown. At the same time, King George issued his proclamation of rebellion against the colonies, and talk of revolution began in the Second Continental Congress. The Continental Congress also issued currency backed by future tax revenue, named Washington as the commander of the Continental Army, and Washington immediately traveled to Boston to take command of the army. They also authorized the invasion of Canada, which we'll talk about some other time. And eventually they
and I mean,
declared
you think about it, if that, and at least to touch on the importance of it, if that had ever been successful, the United States would have been very different geographically.
would have been huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a big country right now, but it would have been huge with adding basically Quebec and some of the eastern provinces of Canada.
We better not tell Trump about this history.
So the Second Continental Congress authorized creation of the Navy on October 13, 1775, and they also passed the Articles of Confederation in 1781. So the next big battle happens on June 17, 1775, which is the Battle of Bunker Hill in the Boston area. And this was basically a costly British victory that proved that the colonial forces had resolve. Colonial spies knew of British plans to take Bunker Hill, and of course, Bunker Hill is in the Charlestown Peninsula, which is north of across the river and the bay from Boston. So the American militia reinforced Bunker Hill, and then moved a little bit south to Breeds Hill. So under British General Howe, newly arrived, the British soldiers assaulted Breeds Hill. At this point in time, this was before Washington arrived, Colonel William Prescott led the colonial troops defending Breeds Hill and Bunker Hill. The British tried 3 times to capture Breeds Hill and eventually were successful when the colonials ran out of ammunition. And basically, the British took control of Charlestown Peninsula. Even though they had the Charlestown Peninsula, they were still surrounded by the American militia at this point in time. So the British had 2,300 troops in the assault, and 1,000 were casualties, which is an astounding number. American defenders suffered only 271 casualties out of their 1,600 defenders. Basically, in a tactical defeat, the Americans had won a strategic victory by proving that they could stand up to the vaunted British Army. And like I said, despite losing the Charlestown Peninsula, the Americans continued to surround and isolate Boston. So Washington arrives a couple weeks later, July 2, 1775, and takes control of the army. At about a couple months later, Parliament votes to send thousands more troops to Boston.
And now it's really on. Wow.
Yeah.
Rick, we're gonna take a break because we have a veterans tribute. Rick Bigelow's our guest, the precursor, but it was actually the Revolutionary War and its outbreak in 1775 with Rick Bigelow. We'll be back with all of that and more on the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, and this day, as with every day, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Today, we feature his great Serenity Care personal care community. Senior living at 4 locations, including the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge at the southern tip of that county, Wyoming, and Kingston in Luzerne County. Dementia care units at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All of these properties have been completely renovated inside and out. Hence, they're saying, Serenity Care, live better. John Jack Pallo. We lost him at age 99, June 26th. He was living in South Abington Township, formerly of Dunmore. His wife is 61 years, the late Teresa Renner Pallo, predeceased him in 2020. He graduated from Dunmore High School, class of 1945, attended the University of Scranton until called to active duty in the U.S. Army. He was honorably discharged with the rank of Staff Sergeant. Upon discharge, he began employment with the Veterans Administration Regional Office in Wilkes-Barre and then transferred to the VA hospital. It was there that he met his wife, Teresa, who also happened to be his boss. He would tell you that she continued to be his boss for the rest of his life. John was very proud of the fact that all 5 men in his family served in the military, beginning with his dad in World War I and his brothers in all encounters after that. After retirement from the VA, John enjoyed gardening, landscaping. He also helped out the grounds of St. Gregory's Church, where he was a charter member. His family immigrated from Slovakia. His parents raised 10 children, 8 of whom survived and raised through adulthood, despite the 1918 Spanish flu and the 1930s depression. Their work ethics was an inspiration to him. John's father-in-law, who immigrated to the U.S. 48 years earlier and had not returned, took the trip to Munich, Germany, for a grand and emotional reunion. John and Teresa formed many enduring friendships over the years. John survived by his sister Ruth Barone of Dunmore, his brother Thomas's wife, nieces, nephews, grand nieces and nephews, and so many good friends. Predeceased by sisters, brothers, and all kinds of family, 99-year-old Jack Pallo. Our great veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and the great Serenity Care Senior Living Community. Live better. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the gang up at Montage Mountain Resorts. They're in their glory because they know this is the place to be all week at the water park at Montage. Today, mostly sunny, very hot. Thunderstorm late this afternoon is possible. There's some smoke out there from Canada. The idiots don't know how to take care of their forests for whatever reason. And it could lead to poor air quality. High 99 today. Now, that's 6 degrees higher than I heard Snedeker predict, so we shall see. Tonight, humid, thunderstorm around early, low 66. Tomorrow, hazy, not as hot, lower humidity. Smoke from wildfires can create reduced air quality again tomorrow. High 89, low 62. Friday, partly sunny, very warm. High 88, low 65. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm. Storms can bring flooding downpours, localized damaging wind gusts. 83 degrees Saturday, low 69. Sunday, shower in the area in the morning, otherwise humid with more clouds than sun. High 85, low 60. And that's your weather at the place to be this week. Montage Mountain and their great water park, where it's 84 degrees right now. Love that song. And I'm not a melancholy person in any respect, but Gilbert can make you sad, can't he? Murph tells us this date, 1972, he moved from number 20 to number 8 with his hit, Alone Again, naturally. And, of course, we played the late Lindsey Graham. To my mind, one of his best moments as a congressman, as a senator, and in Washington, D.C., calling the lunatic Democrats out. It was a precursor to the insanity that has engulfed that party today. But Lindsey Graham, we lost him this week. Back to Rick Bigelow. We're in the midst of the beginnings of this war, which is, I mean, it's actually going on almost full-fledged, right, Rick?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, of course, it's centered in the Boston area, but there are bullets and cannonballs flying all over the place. So towards the fall of 1775, and once again, this is before the Declaration of Independence is signed, there's kind of an impasse. The militia and the Continental forces have surrounded Boston, and the British troops are holed up in Boston, and they're isolated. We do know that the king has decided to send more troops, considerably more troops, to America. But one thing that's important to understand is it takes ships 3 to 4 weeks to cross the ocean at this point in time. So a round trip with a message to the crown and then the crown responding was going to take 6 to 8 weeks. So the communications were really slow. So the troops are on their way to America. There's an impasse around Boston. At this point in time, Colonel Henry Knox, the guy was 25 years old. He was a bookseller in Boston before the war broke out. He went to Fort Ticonderoga, and he took cannons and ammunition and all kinds of rifles and so on and so forth, and he moved them from Fort Ticonderoga to Washington's forces outside Boston. And this happened in January of 1776. So this was a 300-mile trek over frozen roads and rivers. So once Washington gets these cannons and the ammunition and rifles from Henry Knox, he decides that he's going to move the cannons to Dorchester Heights, which is across the river, across the bay, on an elevated area above Boston. So Washington very quietly, on the night of March 3rd, moves the cannons to Dorchester Heights. The British wake up the next day, and they see 20 cannons menacing down on Boston Harbor. The cannons could have obliterated Boston if they wanted to, and it could have destroyed the British, and the British really couldn't have done much about it. So at this point in time, the British decide to leave Boston. At the same time, a couple weeks later, actually, 120 ships, British ships carrying British troops and loyalists out of Boston, leave Boston Harbor. Many of them are going up to Nova Scotia or Newfoundland and places like that. Some were actually going to the Caribbean. And the colonists move into Boston, and this is a significant victory for the Americans.
Wow. And by the way, George Washington made many tactical mistakes. This is one of his finest hours tactically.
Yeah, absolutely. And he couldn't have done it without Henry Knox saying, yeah, I can make that 300-mile trek over frozen roads from Ticonderoga. And it's just the kind of thing that, the British would never expect anything like that to happen. That's why they were stunned when they woke up and saw these large cannons pointing down on them in Boston. Mm-hmm. So fresh from their victory in Boston, Washington figured that the next thing to do would be to defend New York, because he was pretty sure that the British would send troops to New York to control New York. So in April of 1776, he starts his troops on a march to Boston. And of course, this is like 200 miles, and it's all over dirt roads, and it's slow going, and it's quite the movement. So we're skipping that, but one of the interesting things that happens at this point in time is Thomas Paine writing Common Sense. Paine was an immigrant from England. He'd never been very successful doing anything, and he was a pretty radical guy, and he was in favor of American independence. So he writes Common Sense and gets it published in Philadelphia, and they print an amazing 100,000 copies of this. So basically, everybody in the colonies could have a copy of Common Sense. And this basically put the Americans' thoughts about liberty, freedom, independence, and no taxation without representation into print. And it kind of crystallizes the Americans' opinion on why we're doing this. On July 4th of 1776, as we know, the Second Continental Congress officially adopts the Declaration of Independence. Shortly thereafter, 130 warships, British warships, and 25,000 troops arrive in New York Harbor and encamp on Staten Island. And I think it's important to note that at this point in time, New York and many of the cities in the colonies were bitterly divided between loyalists and rebels. The way they figured is probably, like 30% of the people in the colonies were in favor of revolution. Maybe 20% were in favor of staying aligned with the British Crown. And 50% really didn't have an opinion one way or the other. They just wanted to be left alone. So the British set up camp on Staten Island, and they start to barrage New York City, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. They started this barrage on July 12th, and they stopped it. And everybody's wondering what happened and why they did that. And by this point in time, Washington and his Continental Army were in New York City and were building fortresses and redoubts in Long Island and in New York, Manhattan. So on August of 1776, and you can imagine what it was like wearing a woolen British red coat at this point in time, how hot and everything these British soldiers were. So 15,000 British soldiers cross lower New York Bay and advance towards American fortresses on Long Island. In quick order, the British took Brooklyn, and the American Army withdraws to Manhattan. The American Army is routed at several locations in Manhattan, Kips Bay, Harlem Heights, and then in White Plains. This is the first time that we see a considerable amount of Hessians involved in these battles. And the Hessians were German mercenaries. And basically, these guys were brutal. They were like the SS in World War II from Germany.
Rick Bigelow, we're just going to we're clean out of time. I hate to. There is so much more to talk about. My gosh, just the guts, the gall, all of that is astonishing to me as I think back on it. Wow. They were amazing people, absolutely amazing people. But, Rick, thank you very much. We appreciate it. You touched on some of your materials. It says that Thomas Paine then wrote another pamphlet, The American Crisis, with the famous words, "These are the times that try men's souls."
Absolutely.
Another, the summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country, but he that stands it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. And they certainly do. Man, thank you, Rick Bigelow. We appreciate it so much. And we got a third part coming, right?
Yep, we'll do it in a week or so.
All right, my friend. Rick Bigelow, the American Revolution. We are in full throes. Thank you, my friend. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Cat Stevens, before we lost him to whatever. This date, 1974, Murph says he released his hit, and a good one, another Saturday night. 11 o'clock on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. Let's do the news with Brian Hughes, and then we'll be back for the next hour of the Bob Cordaro Show. You know it, baby. Great good morning, everyone. It's 11:08 a.m. on the Bacardo Jewelers Watch. This beautiful Wednesday, July 15, year of our Lord 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care senior living community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost this year and last, but salute today thanks to John. Like Joseph Gardner, late of Commerce, Michigan, but he was from Hughstown. Jack Pallo, South Abington Township, born Dunmore. And Charlie Kitely, Fairfax, Virginia, but Wilkes-Barre and Bear Creek. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order after that brief news adjournment, today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense, will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here. Fascinating. I love that Rick Bigelow stuff. A number of you texting in that please let him continue this. Yeah, there's delays in time, and you know what? Actually, I made a mistake. Lee Zeldin, the Secretary of Energy, is unavailable today, and I should have carried Rick over if he had the time. I didn't even get to ask. But he'll be back. No, because there's a part 3. And I told him, I said, Rick, I can't get enough of this. But he's trying to condense hour and a half, 2-hour lectures into the 20 or so minutes that we have. And does an incredible job at that. And we've got to know about these founding fathers. What they did is so extraordinary and beyond anything that the people of today could do. So, yes, he will continue with that whole thing and the specifics of the Revolutionary War. Maybe, hopefully next week. We'll see. Somebody says, we played in the history the beginning of MSNBC in 1996, this date. And somebody said, I was listening and heard the MSNBC thing and said, thinking that they'd have to immediately turn it off, that they got the wrong thing. Yeah, well, I know. And MSNBC was not terrible to start. That's the important thing. Somebody else, Bob ALTS, back at you, I say. I went to see Young Washington the other night. Great piece of history. Well done story. Our children in school should see these historic movies. It's important knowledge. God bless America, and I truly mean this. Mountaintop. You're right, Mountaintop. I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. Or as we say in Dunmore, 1,000%. Somebody asking that open from the last hour regarding the what the fools in New York City are doing, Mamdani, erasing immigrant history and only favoring the Muslims that have come to the country. It's insane. These people are evil. We are their enemy. And don't let them tell you anything different, especially those of us who don't follow them in lockstep to their left-wing lunacy. Bob got to spend some time in Rochester and Niagara Falls for work. What beautiful places. Again, I keep running into New Yorkers that despise Hokum. Yet people like her keep getting elected because of New York City, says the electrician. You're right. It really is crazy. Somebody says, it's amazing to listen to the grit and determination of our fathers fighting for freedom. Contrast that to today. The leader of the Democrat Socialist Party point blank says he's using the Democrat Party as a way to get power. He is not a Democrat. And the people that are going to vote for any Democrat whatsoever are too stupid to realize that they are undermining the country. These people will throw them under the bus quicker than they could say Trump sucks. We will all end up losing our freedom in this country because of them. The Democrat Party's gone. It's a communist party. And I want to tell you, I'm going to challenge the Democrats listening. If some reason you are still supporting that party and people in it, I'm challenging you, and I'll be happy to be proven wrong in matters small or large. Please tell me the difference between today's national leadership of the Democrat Party or the statewide leadership in Pennsylvania. Tell me the difference between them and communists. Otherwise, fake, known as the Democrat Socialists. Tell me, if you could give me just one issue where they differ. And I'm not talking about John Fetterman's statements, because remember, he still votes with the lunatics all the time. But aside from Fetterman's statements, tell me one area where the Democrat Socialists, the communists, and the traditional establishment Democrats are different. Please tell me. I am willing to be educated. All right. Mother Teresa, St. Teresa for July 15th. She says, rigorous poverty is our safeguard. We do not want, as has been the case with other religious orders throughout history, to begin serving the poor and then gradually move towards serving the rich. In order for us to understand and to be able to help those who lack everything, we have to live as they live. The difference lies only in the fact that those we aid are poor by force, whereas we are poor by choice. St. Teresa, Mother Teresa, for today. Thank you, Mary Regina. Always amazing. All right, Pat, you've been very patient. Pat from Scranton. How are you, dear?
I'm doing well, buddy. How you doing?
Great.
ALTS always.
Back at you, man.
I wanted to talk. I'm so proud of our 250th anniversary, but I wanted to talk about an Irish Catholic kid from Southside who was adopted by the Haudenosaunee, or what we know as Iroquois Nation. And I wanted to talk about their influence on the shaping of the Declaration of Independence. We grew up watching cowboy and Indian movies, which were based out of the Midwest, Comanches, Apaches, things like that. And they had very little resources. In the Eastern Woodlands, the Iroquois Nation consisted of the Seneca, the Oneida, the Onondaga, the Cayuga, and the Mohawk. And Ben Franklin, and this is not taught in our textbooks, and it's true, went to the Continental Congress because he met with Hiawatha and Chief Cornplanter and said, how did you stop fighting? And they didn't fight like the movies we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
They fought over land and water and resources. And the women, it was the world's first matriarchal democracy. The women told the chiefs,
the Iroquois,
the Iroquois, yeah, the women told the chiefs of those 5 tribes to put their weapons down, and they buried them under the white pine, and the white pine is sacred. And they did, and they stopped fighting over land, and they invented lacrosse, and lacrosse was how they got their anger out. And there was 200 men per team, and they used to call it bumping hips. I forget the word of the
You are
Haudenosaunee
going,
word for
Pat. You are going deep. I love it.
this is unbelievable. But Ben Franklin went to Hiawatha and Chief Corn Planter, who lived to be 106, and took it to the Continental Congress and said, "This is how these guys formed a democracy." And that's how the Declaration of Independence was written. And, at one point, the Tuscarora was invited in as the sixth nation into the Haudenosaunee, or what we call Iroquois Nation, because they were all different. They are all different nations, but then they became one.
And they
And stopped
considered
fighting.
themselves a democracy?
They were the world's first matriarchal democracy,
Okay.
where the women made the rules, and
Well, geez,
Ben Franklin
that sounds like where I
took
live.
Hiawatha and Corn Planters' recommendations to the Continental Congress,
Yeah.
and that's how the we didn't learn about that in our textbooks, Bob. I'm close to your age, and we learned about guys with high white socks and white wigs and black shoes and gold buckles. Now, I'm not taking anything away from our founding founders.
Well, the thing
were,
about the founding fathers that makes them timeless is that they realized they were advancing Western civilization, and that any culture that could add to their wisdom, they gladly embraced. So I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to quibble with you just a bit. At least the history that I've learned. These founding fathers were amazing because even when you'd say, oh, they were savages, they looked at what they could use to add to our society, and that included American Indian culture.
Yes, I won't quibble with you there.
Okay.
That's absolutely true. But what's not taught is that the influence that the Eastern Woodland Indians had, Native Americans had on, the shaping of the Constitution and the shaping of democracy. And I give all the credit in the world to our founding fathers. But it's not taught. And I have.
And by the way, one of the reasons that is the case, that they were not given, I don't know if it would be, I could say inappropriate or not given enough credit, but the Indians by and large sided with the French in the French and Indian War.
They left the French.
And so, they were not our best friends, at least as far as we were British subjects.
But they left the French.
Yeah.
They left the French. And Chief Corn Planter and Hiawatha met with Ben Franklin, like I said.
Neat.
And Ben Franklin he did say, how did you do this? How did you stop warring? And the Eastern Woodland Indians were way different than what we grew up with cowboy and Indian movies, because they had very little resources. We had so many, abundant nature and water and salmon and, buffalo and everything. And, anyway,
appreciate it, Pat.
There's a friend by the name of Dr. Jerry Reisinger, who's a Seneca Indian descendant, and a naturopathic physician out of Luzerne County. And he and I work very closely, speaking in communities all over the region. And, you talk about this Irish Catholic kid from South Scranton who got adopted by the Haudenosaunee Nation and awarded a ribbon shirt, which is one of the highest honors you can be awarded. And I have my faith. I am an Irish Catholic. When I give speeches, I don't proclaim to be Native American, but I like to spread the word.
Well, we'll have to continue to talk about this. We've got to take a break now, but thank you, Pat. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Bob.
All
Good
right,
mind everywhere, as we say. Good mind everywhere.
Amen. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will be back. How about Mick Jagger? He said, I want people to have fun at our concerts. It's not up to me to lecture them when asked about idiot Springsteen, that jackass. The Stones, Murph tells us, this date, 1978, moved up to number 6 with their hit Miss You. Bob Cordaro back on the eponymous program. All right, this is funny. Don't any women get offended. He says, so the Iroquois gave their women power and then got wiped out. This is why history is so important. By the way, on a completely different note, He said there's a woman with a giant Louis Vuitton bag asking people at the Kaiser Oak Shopping Center in Scranton to sign a county anti-insider trading petition. Number one, maybe leave the designer bag at home. Number two, what kind of insider information would a county worker have that would help them in the global stock market? Utter nonsense. Well, these are idiots. They've got to stoke hatred. They've got to stoke resentment of people who've succeeded. Not, you don't want to say, well, I want to succeed. I want to get this done. I really want to do well in this country. And here's a perfect example of someone who did it. Let me try. No, they want to say, hey, this person succeeded by taking from you. Unbelievable. Quickly, somebody said, Dear Bob, 2 great books about the Revolutionary War by Patrick O'Donnell, The Indispensables and Washington's Insurgents. I agree. 2 good books. 2 good books. Biden banner disgrace, day 214. Not only did he not serve in the military, Joe Biden says himself he was from Baltimore. So not only is he not a son of Scranton in his mind, he hasn't returned since he left the presidency, which was about 5 years ago. And the dummies at the Green Ridge Neighborhood Association continue to hoist the banner in the air on North Washington Avenue, saluting Joe Biden as a veteran, which he wasn't, and as a Scrantonian, which he says he wasn't. What a disgrace. Biden banner, disgrace, stolen valor, stolen city, day 214. our Veterans Tribute, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. Today we're featuring his great Serenity Care personal care community. Senior living in Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge, Wyoming, Kingston. Serenity Care says, live better. Well, you can. I've seen all these facilities. They are gorgeous, completely renovated inside and out, accepting new residents. All-inclusive monthly rent, newly renovated suites, individually controlled heating and cooling in each resident room. Take care of your meds, the whole package. Restaurant prepared quality meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Great communal spaces to visit with your family. Serenity Care. They tell you, live better. Joseph Gardner. We lost him July 2nd this year. He was from Commerce, Michigan. Born in Houston. Survived by his loving partner of many years, Ingrid Hansen. He was devoted father of 6, 3 grandchildren. Preceded in death by his beloved wife, Rosemary. He dedicated 32 years of his career to Ford Motor. He served as human resources manager, took tremendous pride in his work and the relationships he built. Prior to his time at Ford, he honorably served this country in the United States Army as a member of the Army Security Agency. His military service took him overseas, and his adventurous spirit continued throughout his life as he lived in both Venezuela and France. Above all, Joseph was a loving and devoted father to his 6 children. He possessed a remarkable gift for making everyone feel welcome. Whether meeting a lifelong friend or a complete stranger, Joseph was genuinely interested in hearing each person's story. Avid reader, lifelong learner, passion for collecting and restoring cars, motorcycles, antique radios. He was a tinkerer, known for his skill at thrifting and uncovering unique and interesting finds. Found great happiness on the water, boating, and despite his proud Irish heritage, he had a deep appreciation for Italian culture. Joseph Gardner, our veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his Serenity Care senior living facilities, who tell you, live better. And I'll add it, you deserve it. AccuWeather forecast from the great gang at Montage Mountain. This is water park week, baby. Today, mostly sunny, very hot. Thunderstorm possible late this afternoon. Smoke from distant wildfires can lead to poor air quality. High 99. Now, Snedeker says 93. We'll see. Tonight, humid, a thunderstorm around early, low 66. Tomorrow, hazy, not as hot, lower humidity. The smoke from the wildfires in Canada still be around, high 89, low 62. Friday, partly sunny, very warm, caution advice. Well, no, we're not giving you any warnings. If you don't know any better, then you're not a member of this audience. High 89, low 62. Friday, partly sunny, very warm. High 88, low 65. Saturday, cloudy and humid with a couple of showers. Possible thunderstorm. There could be flooding, downpours, localized damaging wind gusts. 83 degrees Saturday, low 69. Sunday, a shower in the area in the morning. Otherwise, humid with more clouds than sun. 85 degrees, low 60 on Sunday. And that's our deal with the weather. Brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Resorts, who just basically say, get the heck up here, would you? It's 87 degrees at Montage. Wait just a minute. Well, that means that Tina Morocco's here, doesn't it? Oh, yes, it does. Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor, Sotheby's Realty, Naples, Florida. You can reach her at Sotheby's in Naples or Tina Morocco, Muracco, either .com, that's her own website, or Tina Morocco at any social media. Your trusted guide to Florida real estate specializing in Southwest Florida. Here she is, Tina Morocco. Hi, Tina.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
Oh, you got me in a lather. As soon as I hear that song, I perk up.
Oh, good.
I'm so happy you picked that as a theme song. I love it.
Well, I've got a doozy for you today.
Talk to me. Tell me, baby.
Oh, my gosh. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about something that will probably fascinate part of the audience and be absolutely appalling to some of the others.
All right.
So when I first moved to Florida, I was driving back from Fort Lauderdale to Naples on the Alligator Alley, and it was nighttime, and there were all these monster trucks like lined up along Alligator Alley with these giant spotlights. And I was like, what the heck are they doing? And I couldn't figure it out. So when I came home, I Googled it, and I was like, oh, my gosh. So Florida, South Florida, has a little bit of a Burmese python.
I knew exactly where you were going. By the way, if we should show that to the Iranians, they'd probably give in. Like, okay, these people are too crazy for us.
Exactly. So right now, it's appropriate that we're talking about this because right now we're actually wrapping up the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Committee's Florida Python Challenge. So every year, Florida has this challenge where these people come from all over the country and Canada, all over the world, really, to hunt these pythons. And these pythons are extremely invasive. And another reason why I wanted to talk about these is because you see a lot about this on social media, and pythons they're not hunting people. And sometimes I see that on social media, like, oh my God, there's pythons everywhere, and you can't be outside at night. That's not the case. I mean, pythons are not in Florida residential places for the most part. They're mostly centered in the Everglades and the marshy areas down there. But it is important for us to get rid of these things as much as we can. They'll never be completely eradicated. But the things like this, the python, hunt they're so important. And this python hunt gets rid of like 500 pythons, and some of these pythons are huge.
And you get paid a pretty good buck to bring one in, right?
There's huge prizes, huge prizes for this. And we do have people that, contractors that do hunt them and remove them year round. And you can, if you're into adventure, you can go on python hunts during the year, all year round. But it's not something that I would want to do.
Well, I'm not revolted by this. It's pretty cool. I mean, basically, some genius thought, let's bring in these pythons to control some population. That's my recollection of it. I could even be wrong.
Maybe that, a little bit of that, but also a lot of it came from people that collect exotic animals. And, they got too big to handle, and they released
dumping them in the Everglades.
We'll just put them out in the wild, and they reproduce, So
and there were no natural predators to oppose them, and here we are.
Exactly. And the problem is they really, not only are they, terrifying, but they do eat our native species. Like they eat rabbits and raccoons and deer and things like that. So it's devastating to the Everglades. So it's important to keep doing, this eradication.
So in other words, another thing you could do in Florida is hunt pythons.
Yeah, if you're ready for an adventure.
I wouldn't mind watching them from a somewhat safe distance.
Well, you can. And from Naples, it's like an hour. There's a couple different spots where this Python Challenge happens. just outside of Everglades City, Big Cypress National Park. So it's about an hour or so from Naples, where you can watch them bring everything in and learn more about it. So
Yeah.
a lot of people do. But bringing it back to real estate, not something we really need to worry about.
It's it's something mildly amusing to observe,
Right.
and it's unique to Florida, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, great stuff. A little offbeat today. I love it, Tina Morocco. Thank you, my dear. Oh, Lord, good stuff. Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's Realty in Naples. You can reach her through Sotheby's in Naples or Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com, or on any social media at Tina Morocco. Thank you, Tina. Love
You're
it.
welcome.
All right. Have a good one. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. You know it, baby. Thank you, Gerard. Thank you, Frank. Frank Sinatra on a bar stool, Noumea, New Caledonia. It's 2:45 in the morning there. By the way, Dan Muser had a moment of silence last night for fallen trooper Michael Pahira. and also for the passage of the Delilah Law. Good stuff. Always doing great things. I'll tell you what, we've got, and I'm not saying, and I'm telling you, I'm not saying it because they're Republican. I'm saying because I know the both of them, and I've watched them work, and I know a little bit about Capitol Hill. We have the two incredibly effective congresspeople in Muser and Bresnahan, and they work exceptionally well together on top of that. They are a force for all of us in D.C. It's a big deal. All right, we got John from DuPont. John, we got about a minute, my man. Fire away, brother.
I'm gonna be quick. Last night's top stories. One was the floods and the fires that a lot of campers were disrupted, hurt. May have been a couple of fatalities. And the other was the parasites. And the third was the Strait of Hormuz. Now, I think I have a solution for the first one with the raging water and the brush fires or forest fires. Hey, I get an idea. Stop camping. It's 98 degrees. Stay home. I mean, the best part of camping is on the final day when you survive the night, you get up and you pack your car to leave. That's the best day of camping. That's the most happiness. As far as the lettuce, people washing their lettuce, they tell you, solve it by washing your lettuce. That sounds stupider than anything I've ever heard. You have a problem with lettuce. If to wash lettuce, you have to wash. That's ridiculous. I got an idea for that. Don't eat the lettuce.
That's why we're the Club for Common Sense, John. Thank you, brother. Paul McCartney, Murph says this date, 2009. He took time out of his current concert tour and stopped by The Late Show with David Letterman. He and his band performed 7 songs for the crowd at an outdoor stage, but only Get Back was aired to the television audience. Well, we're going to finish with Grand Funk Railroad. We're an American band because this date, 1973, it was released, and we are an American band. We just are, and you know it. Somebody texted in, Biden has a book. The preface says no stolen classified documents used in the production of this book as far as anyone knows, LTS. By the way, the not so pissed off mailman here, he says, these people with the petitions have been walking around at the West Side Mall and the Gateway Shopping Center for a while now. Like, well, for what? Chuck from Carbondale, in all caps, I will add, says, Bob, I've seen dark money ads push pothole page on television, full of lies, using old progressive Democrats in the ads. Hope the people are not fooled by the lies. Chuck, I hope so. On good authority, they've spent $8 million already against Rob Bresnahan. Now, that tells you that he's scary to them. That tells you that he's an effective congressperson because they hate him. $8 million already. The campaign hasn't even started in a lot of ways. Yeah. And many, many millions to come. I told you, Cognetti has George Soros family money. They've all maxed out in their contributions. All of the usual suspects running independent ads for her. Negative ads on Rob. It is absolutely crazy. It's such a craven grab for power. And remember, among many other disgraces, Page helped bring you Biden Street and the President Biden Expressway, embarrassing us in front of all the world. Unbelievable. All right, American band, you know it. Well, it's just one of my favorite songs. Hey, thanks to Roach Supply. Premier bath and kitchen supplier, Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. Visit RoachSupply.com today. Veteran Ron Roach at the helm at 95. Thanks to our veterans. We're thanking them posthumously, but certainly their families. Joseph Gardner, late of Michigan, but he was from Hughstown. Jack Pallow, 99 years young when he passed, June 26th. Dunmore and South Abington Township. And Charlie Kitely, Fairfax, Virginia, but he was born in Wilkes-Barre and raised in Bear Creek. And always thanks to John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care, personal care community, who tell you, live better. You deserve it. So we're already done with Wednesday. Where does this time go? Where does it go? There's never enough time. But by the way, when I was with Rick Bigelow earlier, when we were with Rick Bigelow, I pulled out one of my favorite memes. And it shows a picture of Washington and troops crossing the Delaware. And it says, Americans willing to cross a frozen river to kill you in your sleep on Christmas. Totally not kidding. We've done it. Damn right we have. And all of that, all that toxic masculinity being attacked by a bunch of weak jackasses who want to use the government to make them tough guys and tough gals. And they are communists. And they are coming for your freedom. Do not be fooled. We've got them right here. Little Billy Gaughan and Paige Cognetti communists in our midst. Their whole package of Looney Tune agendas right in your face. Anti-law enforcement, anti-borders, and don't let them fool you. Don't fall for the lies. That's who they are. All right, Grand Funk, you finish it up, because I've got to gavel to a close today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense. God willing, I'll talk to you tomorrow and be with you then. Have a great afternoon.